The Kent School District Board meetings are held in public on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center in accordance to the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings include presentations and reports dealing with district operations, as well as time set aside for public comment. Now here are your Kent School District Board of Directors. Welcome to tonight's board meeting.
We're ready. Except for Curtis. Curtis isn't ready. One of these years I'll get used to actually banging that. It still always felt like. So anyway, welcome to our board meeting tonight. And I have asked Juliet Perry if she would lead us in tonight's pledge. So, Juliet.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So again, welcome to our meeting. It's nice to see everybody back. Hopefully everybody had a nice break. I would like to remind you that this is a meeting of the board which is held in the public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. We will allow the opportunity for public comments later in the agenda. If you do wish to speak to an agenda item, please fill out the blue card, or for any part of public comment, they are in the back under strategic goals. And if you are speaking directly to an agenda item, please note that on the card so I can make sure that you have an opportunity to speak at that time. All public comment is limited to 3 minutes during your time of speaking. So Dr. Apostle, any changes to tonight's agenda?
President Strauss, there are no changes to the agenda this evening.
Great, then we will go ahead and get started. And I believe, Dr. Apostle, you're leading us off tonight.
Yes, I'm honored to read a proclamation that has been prepared by Governor Jay Inslee. And if you don't mind, I'll stand to read this proclamation in recognition of Board Recognition Month. This is a proclamation from the state of Washington's governor. Whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to assure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible citizens and enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And whereas Washington's 295 locally elected school boards are the core of the public education governance system in our state. And whereas the districts that lead and serve more than 1 million students have a combined annual budget of nearly $12 billion and employ well over 100,000 people. And whereas school directors play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved. And whereas school directors are directly accountable to the citizens in their districts, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And whereas school directors provide a passionate voice of advocacy for public schools and the welfare of school children. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize school directors as outstanding volunteers and champions for public education. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2015 as School Board Recognition Month in Washington, and I urge all people in the state to join me in this special observance. Signed this 18th day of December 2014, Governor Jay Inslee.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. No, we won. Yeah. All right, and I believe Mr. Loftus, you have some additional.
President Strauss, Vice President DeBruler, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, Ms. Everett, thank you for this opportunity to come before you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here as well for a special night. As Dr. Apostle has noted, this is Board Appreciation Month, and we have some of our partners in the district who would like to come and speak about the effectiveness of your leadership. I've always been taught that effective leadership is pretty much synonymous with intentional partnerships. We just can't, schools simply can't do it alone. and you've been very gracious and very forward-thinking to really expand the number of partnerships that we've had in the last few years, and it's been noticed and appreciated and very effective. And so I'm going to ask all the members from our unions and collective bargaining groups that are here to speak and be represented to come on up tonight, as well as the members of the Kent Area PTA Council. They each have a few words to say, and some of them have some items to offer you. You're going to get more gifts by the end of the night. So. Rodney, would you like to go first?
Thank you. Yeah, I was hoping I'd get to follow you. All right, thank you. President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, Ms. Everett. Mr. Ficken and I are here representing the Kent Principals Association, and we wanted to thank you for all of the staff, all the support you give the staff, the students, and especially us. We're being kind of selfish, so we knew you worked so hard on this. There's a few token gifts we'd like to give in recognition of the things that you do. I think on occasion you need to be reminded to relax. So Director Hanscom, I know that you have spent time coaching baseball, basketball, football. So KPA is giving you a soccer ball as appreciation for always making KSD goals a priority. Director Venda Dasalam, your work on grant committees has helped us get some money, so it only made sense to give you a few Ben Franklins in appreciation for what you've done for us. Director Burchard, KPA appreciates the work you do with the legislature. We know that you are spending time jumping through hoops for us, so we'd like to give you a basketball hoop. Vice President DeBruler, during your 20 years in Kent, you've been busy. You've had your foot in just about everything, so it makes sense to give you a football, so you can keep that going. Thank you for your achievements.
Thank you.
And President Strauss, we've seen you run in from meetings. We've heard you on the phone during conference calls. No matter what you're doing, it appears as though you give your full court press. So, of course, a basketball.
Thank you.
The college, you'll notice a lot of these balls do have college. We give these out at Daniel Elementary, too, to reinforce where we're headed. And then, President Strauss, there's a little more to what you do. So if you could get that other little bag out. We get that when there is a really difficult decision, and when there's a tie, that falls on you to make that decision, and that's not easy, and we appreciate the position that puts you in. So we thought there's something else that might come in handy, so we are also giving you a drink cozy with a whistle, which fits very well on this Gatorade Recover drink. Again, we know that the work happens in the buildings. We are all doing what we're doing for the kids, but we know that it's without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't have any props. I always get overshadowed somehow. I was thinking about a soft shoe, but I don't really know how to do it, so I figured I would just talk. And, you know, when I was thinking about the board, I thought about how impressed I have been with the questions that have been asked in the years that I've been in leadership, especially with our latest board. I really feel that there's a thoughtfulness and a desire to understand all the pieces of the operation of the district. That's very important, and I appreciate that. Not that I always agree with you, Russ, but I do appreciate that very much. And I appreciate, Russ, that you do put your opinion forward when you may be the only one that feels that way. I think that's what democracy is about. So, on top of that, I think that you should consider yourself part of that 80-20 rule. I honestly only found out about this because I didn't take any economics classes, I guess. I found out about this when I was probably in my early 40s. So reading about the fact that, I mean, you know, facetiously people say, well, 80% or 20% of the people do 80% of the work 80% of the time. But it means something more than that. It means there's kind of a top layer of people that take the next step, that are interested in finding out what's going on, that throw themselves into the work that needs to be done. And you really are that 20%. Deborah Hillary and I talk about this all the time in HR meetings, and Deborah said it's the 98.2%. And that may be, in fact, the truth. You are the top 2%. That may be closer to the truth. But I really do appreciate that because your time is voluntary. And you care enough about the schools in our district, you care enough about our district, and just the state of education, period, to put the time that you do into things. So I very much appreciate you as part of the 20 or 2% and appreciate that you are our school board members. Thank you for your work.
Thanks, Cindy.
President Strauss, members of the board, Dr. Apostle, and Miss Everett. On behalf of the Kent Area Council, PTA, I'd like to thank each of you. I'll begin with a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien. These are words that he had Gandalf speak in his book, The Fellowship of the Ring. All we have to decide what to do with... Wait, let me start over. All we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given us. Very wise words from a fictional piece of work. We have this precious commodity called time. There are so many different ways that we can choose to spend it, and so many different ways that people choose to spend their time. At KAC PTA, we understand the choices that one must make when it comes to spending time doing what's best for the kids in our district. We commend each one of you for We commend each one of you on our KSD school board for making the choice in your lives to spend time serving our students. There are student successes all over our district, and you are each instrumental in helping these students succeed. In addition, we'd like to thank you for the time that you take to foster family engagement by including families in decisions, speaking at our PTA meetings, being visible in the community at various events, and so much more. To close, I'd like to say that we believe that our KSD school board is simply the best and present you each with a little token of our appreciation and a reminder to you as you enjoy this Simply Lemonade that you are simply the best. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of our guests tonight for coming, and we're going to have you go over, and we'll do, and board will have you go over and take a photo. And if you can bring the proclamation, we'll do our usual photo service over there. So, thank you.
How about an appreciation you get to not?
All right, so thank you again to everyone. And we are going to continue on with board discussion and approval. First on tonight's agenda is 3.01, adjustment of school impact fees, Kent Station Phase 3 apartment project for Tarragon LLC. And I am asking for a motion to approve an adjustment of school impact fees for the Kent Station Phase 3 apartment project by eliminating the charge of school impact fees against the project's 68 studio and 1-bedroom apartment units and charging the remaining 86 1- and 2-bedroom apartment units the required multifamily school impact fee of $3,378 per apartment unit.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Maya? No. Okay. Russ?
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, to be consistent, I don't like giving away money. And the problem I have with voting in favor for this is with the exception of that there might be little impact to our district, to me, it feels like, absent of any information, so I've got nothing to base my decision on, that a developer just gets to make more money off our students. And I can never vote, one, with a serious lack of information. So I don't know what the margins are. I don't know what the markup is. I don't know, you know, we heard lots of songs and dances from the Covington group, but, and this is personal for me as well, when I'm working so hard to try to raise money for the district through a foundation, and in 5 minutes I give away $200,000, $300,000, I can't reconcile it. So I'll be voting no. And I would encourage my colleagues to vote no as well.
Well, I had a different perspective. I was going to express appreciation for how clearly, I think the background that we got around this explain what the purpose of the school impact fees are, to sort of offset the cost for us to build the schools to serve the additional students that would be there. And I wanted to make sure that I was making decisions that were, you know, equitable in terms of our decision when we've talked about Covington versus this situation in Kent. And so I really see this as being different because from the information that was provided to us, the type of housing that it's being converted to from what it was originally will not be producing as many students, since they are the, now I'm forgetting what they're called, the studio, and the studio with a bedroom, open one bedroom. And so to me then it doesn't make sense that there would be the students living there, that we would need the money for the schools. And if it was just money coming to us to help us with all of our students and purchasing things, if it was a different purpose for the funds, then I'd be in agreement with you, Russ. But because of what the purpose of the funds is for, to create the facilities for these additional students, if there aren't those additional students, it doesn't seem to me that it's right. So I am in support with it, the way it's proposed.
Thank you. Any other?
I agree with Agda. I'm pretty much in the same mind, because the impact fees are to offset what it would take us to support those students. And if there aren't any students coming from those apartments, then there's no need to take that money from the studio and the open one bedroom. The 1 and 2 bedrooms, yeah.
Maya, any?
No, I'm in agreement. I was just wondering what Russ is thinking.
So I've got rebuttals for everything you're saying. and so, one, you're making the assumption that the school impact fees that we charge are enough. And I would beg to differ. Otherwise, we're not going to be going out and getting bonds, because why would we need to go get bonds if the impact fees that we charged on developers were sufficient? But they're not. And the other thing is, if I was running a no campaign to bonds, again, I brought it up during the Covington argument. So you're asking us taxpayers to build more schools when developers don't need to pay their own way. You can make the fine point arguments that would be easily lost. Well, they're different apartments and they don't have students in them. But it's a developer fee. And if in fact, if the impact fees were written correctly, then we shouldn't be having to waive them. So, but the fact that the law is, you build an apartment, you have a fee. And if the law were, and correct me if I'm just really not understanding this completely, but if the law were to say, well, if you build an apartment, but it's probably not going to have a kid in there, you don't have to pay it. And we wouldn't have to waive it. We wouldn't have to make an exception. But that's not the law. That's not what we originally, you build an apartment, you pay an impact fee. oh, but we're going to make an exception. Well, maybe we should fix so I don't have to feel like I'm giving away, because I feel like we're giving it away. And again, I personally work so hard in trying to fund this district that is grossly underfunded. And I don't like to be put in this position. It makes me frustrated that I have to be asked to contribute to a private developer's profit line. That's how I view it. That I'm contributing to, hey, if it doesn't make sense for you, don't build it. Because the fee's the fee. So I'm going to be continually consistent forever. I'm always going to vote no for any waiver of any money that our school district's entitled to get. We're entitled to this money, and you're saying, that's okay, we're good. That's how I feel. So that's my rebuttal. I can't reconcile that, ever.
Okay. Thank you. So I just have one question, Dr. Sedry. If they were to change and say they were building different units, would the fee then, if we'd said we're waiving it for this, and if they go to, next week they say, oh, wait, we're going to do X number of units of one bedroom that were originally, would the fees then follow that?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that the city of Kent has gone through meticulously and on these plans counted the various apartment type complexes, and these are the actual numbers. If they build more 1 and 2 bedroom, then we are owed the additional fee for those, because they could produce school-age students.
Thank you. And I guess, Russ, the only thing I look at is when we also look at, senior housing, the fact that that's waived, and that's the same premise that they're really not going to have the students in there.
Separate issue. And the reason that's separate is because it's a lower income, and it's dedicated for a specific group of individuals who don't have the income to pay. So the business model doesn't support the mortgage payment that the building's going to have to pay, that the business owner is going to have to pay. So you don't have the revenue stream. Granted, who knows what the rent is going to be for each one of these units, but what I'd really personally like to know is the developer still going to build it? And with or without the waiver? So if a builder is going to still build the building and make money, what's the point? The project's still going to get built. The city hasn't come to us and said, wow, this is a really thin-line margin project. It's going to be good for the city. We're going to have more residents downtown. It's going to be a vibrant community. We really need this project. No one's here trying to convince me of anything. I would bet good money the guy's still going to build it.
Dr. Sedry.
Just to tell you how this all came about, the city's development director contacted my office, and we had this discussion about what the developer was asking, and the city is recommending that we make the adjustment if it's at all possible.
Why?
Because it's for good of the city. You'll get more people downtown, and there are no school-age children going to come out of a studio apartment and an open one-bedroom apartment. They just statistically aren't going to come.
And is the guy still going to build it regardless of whether or not they get this waiver from us?
I can't answer that because I don't know.
Maybe I would encourage us to wait and see if we had an answer from them. At least, have the guy who we're going to give $300,000 to say, here's why I need the waiver. Again, I'm busting my fanny in the community to try to bring tens of thousands of dollars. And how can I just say, oh, okay, 300,000. It's like a month, that's like a year in Maui in a 2-bedroom condo. So.
In comparison. Okay, so we do have a motion that is on the floor. So if there's not any further discussion, I think I'll call for the motion. So all those in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, motion passes. Next is 3.02, strategic planning process. So we had originally intended to have Judy Phillips, who helped us develop our strategic plan, come back in February to meet with the committee again. And there has been a recommendation that we wait possibly until the new superintendent is on board to go through that process so that he or she could be part of that. So I just wanted, since we hadn't publicly announced it in a board meeting, I just wanted to get the feelings of the board of what they desire to do on that.
I think that was a really good suggestion because it would give the new superintendent ownership and feeling like he or she's totally into it.
Okay. Seeing lots of head nodding.
I'm in agreement. I would just say I would want to make sure it would happen relatively soon because we don't want to wait too much longer after the original committee had done their work to come back to it, revisit, and regroup with them.
Okay. Maya?
I'd like to make a suggestion that we look at our communication audit. I just thought it was really well done from my sense of being part of some of the meetings, and there were a lot of candid comments that were made. And one of the suggestions I have is if we could do some prep work so that we can be ready for the strategic planning process. And my suggestions are to kind of look at our board goals and look at our communication audit, because I think that's going to be it's going to cover a number of our goals as I see here. And if we can look at the goals and see where the comments fit under those goals and kind of come up with what is the pattern that we're seeing under those goals, you know, where do we need to focus our process. And then a suggestion I have is looking at the strategic planning process as a smaller group, maybe 13 to 15 people, rather than having 70 folks come in and do as was done in the past, and kind of identifying, you know, what's being seen as important under those goals from the communication audit. So it's just a suggestion I have. Before we get to the entire process, do some prep work.
So one of the things, so what I heard you say was that you want to use the communication audit as we start looking at doing our revisit of the strategic goals and making sure that we're capturing the information that was there as well.
Yes, and doing it under the specific goals so that we're not getting off track, but making sure we're focusing still on our goals.
Yeah, I'm sure we can probably give that information as well, because I believe I'll have Judy Phillips come back to facilitate it, but that's information we can give to her as well. Okay, great. Thank you. Russ?
I'm
in
fine.
favor of waiting? Okay. All right. All right. So we do not need a motion for that. So we will, Dr. Apostle, if you can help us with that, we'll schedule it for, we'll have to decide if we want to do it like right after the springtime or early fall. So. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so that moves us on to the consent agenda for tonight. Are there any items that anyone from the board would like to pull from this evening's consent agenda?
I just have a question in general about the new classes, and I don't think I need to pull, but I want to be legal with this.
Do you need to pull to ask a quick question?
If you want some clarification, go ahead and just pull it. Yeah, go ahead and pull it.
Several of them have asked or said that they need new textbooks, whatever. And is that money available? Is it going to be available in the 215, 216 budget? And are those all going to be hardbound, handleable textbooks? Or are they?
So why don't we go ahead and pull those? We're going to pull the numbers of that. So 405,
6, 7, 8, and 9, I guess.
Okay, so we'll pull those. Okay, anyone else like to pull anything? Okay, so oh, sorry, Maya, did
So
you?
we're doing 4.06 too, right?
Yeah, we're going to pull
All of it.
4.5 through 4.9. Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda less 4.5 through 4.9.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So Karen, want to go ahead and ask your questions in regards to 4.5 through 4.9, please?
Yeah, just again, in general, just want to know that there's, well, in general, I've got a couple other questions too, but there's resources in the budget for the books that are going to be needed for these classes?
Yes.
And are they all going to be hard, hold in your hand textbooks, or do we have any digital, electronic things in mind?
If it was put in the request for materials, then, and there is a digital option available, then that will be some sort of combination between the two, depending on how many students enroll in the course.
Okay. On the IB sports and health, exercise and health science, it wasn't marked 1 or 2 semesters. Those were left blank. I'm assuming it's 2 semesters.
I would have to get back to you and follow up on that one.
Okay. And it says it's replacing one section of English, and I wondered why that is. Why is it replacing English?
I'll investigate that and see if it was cross-credited.
Oh, this.
No, well, I'll get back to you with a correct answer.
Okay. And I think that was all I had. And I love the idea of these different classes. Mm-hmm. And the Spanish class, I think as I read it, the 4th-year Spanish had been dropped at Kent Lake, and now they're picking up this, the AP Spanish, and it's going to replace the 4th year. It sounded like it was 12 and 13.
From
20,
the UW
20.
one that went away.
Yeah, okay.
And then, did that answer your questions, Karen?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and Maya, you had another question?
Yeah, I wanted to understand why UW in the high school course is no longer offered, and also the last sentence in 4.06 didn't make sense. It says Kent Lake officers may, is it offer, the word that's missing, may, AP, and UW in the high school courses. So I just, 2 questions.
Okay.
Why it went away, and I believe it's only in Kent Lake, right? Is that right? It doesn't say here, though.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that too.
You get back?
Yeah, so we'll put it in the weekend review.
Okay.
So I guess I need to know, for clarification's sake, on 4.06 and 4.07, are we still okay on approving those, or are we pulling those?
Okay with approving them. I'm. It seems to me that they just accidentally left off marking the boxes on that one, and I just want to know why it's replacing English. But.
Okay. And Agda, or sorry, not Agda, Maya, on 4.06.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. I just I'm wondering about the UW and can get back.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Okay. All right, so then what I'll do is I'm going to call for the motion to approve 4.05 through 4.09. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And then if we can get those clarifications on that, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Debbie,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
I saw we have forensics science here. It just made me remember to ask this question, and I keep forgetting. Do we have forensics for speech and debate, public speaking in any of our schools?
I'll include that in the weekend review as well.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Can you just re-clarify the question? What are you asking?
Do we have speech and debate, public speaking, forensics anywhere in our schools?
I will check and have to get back to you.
Great. Thank you. All right, so we are on to 5.0, moving right along this evening. First one is 5.01. This is a general fund objective expenditure summary report. It is for information only. Did anyone have any questions on this report? Seeing head shaking no. Okay. And then we have 5.02, the November of 2014 financial statement, again for information only. Anyone have any questions on the financial statement?
No.
Okay, seeing lots of no's. Thank you on both those. So we will go ahead to 5.03, and I do have a card on this one, so I'm going to allow Elena Onito. Did I say it right? Okay. If you'd like to come to this mic, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board.
Oh, okay. Should I press some?
Yeah. Does it need to be pressed? It's on. It sounds like it's
okay.
On. Okay.
I'm Elena Onito, how you say it, and I'm an exchange student from Italy, Rome, and I'm actually a senior at Kentridge High School. And I'm here to seize my goal that was for graduate like a student, like a senior high school student, like my dad did, and that was my dream since I was a kid. I grew up with this idea of coming here and doing, and being a senior, like 100% senior, doing all the experience that they're doing. And this is why I'm here trying to fully complete all the requirement to be able to graduate. And I'm almost done with all of them, and the last one is going to be done in February, I hope so. I'm going to attend the ACT test. That is my last one. So yeah, mine is just a request to be able to graduate.
Great.
That's it. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening and speaking to us. So this is our first reading of this revised policy 3142 on visiting foreign students. And we will be voting on approval later. But Karen?
I had a question. Are they going to have to take Washington State history?
Yes. The way this came about in the policy revision, we took a look at the WASDA sample as what's acceptable by their attorneys, and read that if a foreign student, normally if they're an exchange student, they're here for the cultural experience, but if they are able to complete all of the requirements in Washington, including all of the testing and all of the district requirements that may exist, it's acceptable within the sample to grant them a district diploma. So yes, any student who would be a foreign exchange student and be granted a Kent diploma would complete all the requirements like any other student. I don't think it's going to happen very frequently because it's a very difficult thing to achieve, but in this case of Ms. Oneto, it may well be a fait accompli almost already.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions on the first reading? I think it's exciting, and it's actually very nice to have a student come and speak to us about the possible impact, so thank you for doing that. So, all right, so we will see that approval at a subsequent meeting. So, right, so we are now on to communications from the audience, and I have no other cards in front of me, so giving last chance. Okay, Dr. Apostle, Superintendent's report, please.
Well, I have a very simple report. First of all, I'd like to recognize that we have an individual in our administrative team, Tom Ogg. He was nominated by the State Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction Child Nutrition Office to attend one of 4 produce safety universities that are sponsored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. He was accepted to attend the USDA's Produce Safety University during the week of April 13 through 17 in Sacramento, California. Tom was selected from a number of nominees, and there's a waiting list for this course. So we're honored to have such a talented individual in our midst. Also, last week, we had a New Year's celebration here at the central office. And it exceeded my expectations in terms of participation and energy and laughter. And it is one of several events that we'll have on a monthly basis to bring our team together to celebrate the accomplishments and give recognition to the very deserving central office team.
Great. Thank you. All right. So we'll start with Karen this time.
I'm trying to think if I reported the last time about this or not. Anyway, I'm just going to say I went to the Pasa Graduation, and it was fabulous. Most recently, had a tour of top program, and Teacher Steve gave us a wonderful tour, and we got just got to meet the kids and practice greeting with them, and it was really wonderful, and heard about the successes and the hopes for the future of the program, and so we're looking at that and going to move forward and see what we can do.
Thank you. Agda?
All right, well, I enjoyed seeing some of our talented students this past weekend, where I got to go to the talent show at KM, and that was a lot of fun and really diverse talent, including well, lots of dancing and singing, but also spoken word that was very impressive, and these ninja dancers. It was amazing. And then the Reflections art program I got to see too, that the Kent Area Council PTA does, and both those made me really appreciative of both our staff and our volunteers that really support the arts in our schools. And then, of course, we're all gearing up for the legislative session, and I was reflecting this week that, the legislature just started, and then also in Washington, D.C., we've had Arnie Duncan, who's talking about reauthorization of the No Child Left Behind Elementary and Secondary Act, as well as our own Senator Murray wanting to lead the charge to reauthorize that. So exciting times. It's going to be a really challenging legislative sessions with our $2.8 billion deficit. And then on top of that, the McCleary decision and the initiative on the class size. And so the legislature will have some hard decisions, we all know, to adequately fund our schools and to continue to support our students in other ways in the human service area. And most of the folks I talked to are saying session will last way past, the April cutoff, and it'll be like June or July, when we find out what the result is going to be. And I know that's going to be really challenging for our staff to be able to be prepared to know what the budget's going to be for next year. But I have lots of confidence in them that we will work that out. So in preparation for the session, I did sign up for the WASDA Legislative Conference, and if anyone wants to join me, that's Sunday, March 1st. And then on March 2nd, which is the day on the Hill with legislators, since it was so successful last year, I'm working with Community Connections to take a group of students, high school students, down with us and setting up appointments with the legislators. And I put in a request for a meeting with the governor, so we'll see if he's available to meet with them. And then the last thing I should see if Maya's going to report on it, and that's the equity work that we're doing. Are you going to cover that, or you want me to mention that?
Please.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
Told you all before that I've been going, and Maya's been coming now too, to informal convening of other school board directors from the roadmap districts and around equity, and really wanting to do more around closing the achievement gap. And so in that work, more recently, we've engaged WASDA in that, and also Puget Sound ESD. And so WASDA and Puget Sound ESD in this spring are going to be having a convening for the roadmap districts of school boards and superintendents to really to do more and to understand what we're already doing to close the achievement gap. And so Maya and I are going to be helping on the planning team for that, and I hope that you'll all be able to come when the date's announced for that. So that's my report.
Great, thank you. Maya.
Okay, so as well with Karen and Dr. Apostle was able to attend the Pasa Graduation, and just a very, very moving event, and I'm so happy to see all the work that goes into this program. To see somebody who's in their 90s come in, or 80s, I'm not sure. She looked like she's in her 80s. Come and accept a diploma and to understand, how proud they are of what they've accomplished. It was just very, very moving experience, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to see that. Also have been attending the Equity Network meetings here in the district. A lot of very candid conversations, and we often use the word courageous conversations, and we've had that too. But I think we're getting down to the work of identifying what are some of the best policies that are around the country to look at, and hopefully coming up with a draft that's really powerful. And I'm not sure where we're at, but I think we're getting to that point where I think there's also hope that we can get more community involved in the process. Maybe change our meeting times so that people can make it after work. But those are logistical issues, but I do see that great work being done by Mr. Brown and Dr. Decker in leading that, and very hopeful that we'll have something of substance in terms of policy soon. And then over the holidays, I forget that we've been off for a long time, so over the holidays I had a chance to work with our Sikh community in doing blanket drives, and you know, very few folks know that our Sikh community is very involved with charitable activities. And you know, in our Asian community, we don't talk much about what we do at our off times, but we have a lot of those communities. Had a chance to go visit the Kent Arabic school the other day, and some of the work that's going on there. I hope you all get a chance to visit and see how they are really actively involving themselves in the kids' education. So we often get the sense that our families are not very engaged with our kids because they're not seen at PTA meetings. But you know, different families do different ways of engaging with their kids. So something to think about as we move forward. And let's see, I met with Geeta, who used to be with our science coordinator, and she is now working for Washington Alliance for Better Schools, WAPS. And so she's doing a lot of work with our elementary schools, and I was excited to hear what's going on there. We talked a little bit about chess, having chess competition in our schools. I know Kent Elementary has a scholarship, and I want to ask about that. But you know, I don't know how many schools are involved in that, but as we know, we have very few girls who are very involved with science, and chess is a great way to get them started, interested. And so I don't know if there's interest out there, but I would actively pursue that avenue also. Let's see, I also had a chance to go on the top tour with Karen, and thank you, Mr. Steve, for the tour, and what a lovely way to see what happens in another building that we hear very little about, the good work that's going on in the district, and all of the relationship building that's needed for our kids. Let's see. Went to the South Chambers of Commerce legislative session, mainly talked about transportation. We were supposed to talk about education, I think, but ended up being how to fix our roads and work on 167 and 509. That's the topic of the agenda there. And then finally, just want to talk about, this morning I went to the Kpa Senior Presentation, and I want to thank everybody for maintaining that. We don't have to by law anymore, but love that the kids are still able to present their strife, their life, you know, whatever is happening in their families. It's just a very emotional time and a great learning experience for all of us to see what kids are facing, particularly in that school, all the challenges that they face. Okay, and then I just want to finally say that, let's see, there's a career day going on at Meridian Middle on January 27th. Folks from industry-specific organizations are participating. And I've met with the Chamber of Commerce and Senator Fain to talk about how we can work more closely with our industries and maybe even look at certification for our teachers in specific industries so that we can kind of leverage our funding for some of our CTE courses and move quickly into a STEM model and be a pilot program or something greater than something that great we can do in the area of STEM.
Great, thank you, Pat. Russ.
How about you follow that? No. So just, are you going to give an update on the superintendent search?
Yes.
Okay. So my goal is to actually read all 300 comments, 500 comments. I'm halfway through it. Fascinating stuff. Public has given us a lot of input, and staff. I mean, the comments were from everybody that participated. So I am actually reading every single word that everybody said. Just FYI, I just got notice that Camille, our board intern, is going to resign from the paid portion and will be volunteering in working with us and collecting the rest of our levy and different strategies. And Ogden and I are going to connect over that in the next couple of weeks. I did have a question. Oh, and she did get a job with the Excel Charter School. So it's interesting. I just had a quick question for Dr. Stedry. If you don't know, if you're reluctant to guess, but I am very curious because we have so many opportunities to fund initiatives. I am really curious on how much we're going to save this year with the drop of oil prices, or if we do futures purchasing. So I know it's been great for our family's pocketbook because we drive to Canada every Saturday. Do we have an idea of how much we're going to save in our transportation costs?
Not at this time, but I really won't know that till the end of the year.
End of, like in December?
The school year.
But we've got trends. Yeah.
Some, yes, but.
Yeah. So, Russ, probably the most appropriate way to do this would be to go through Dr. Apostle to have Dr. Stedry pull that for us.
Be happy to
Great. Okay.
Get those numbers to you on some projections. Karen
was talking to Luann for a whole bunch of stuff. That's all.
That's all for tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, as far as a superintendent update, yes, we did meet with the committee or the search firm, and we did get all the input back to us. We came up with our priorities for the superintendent, and that flyer has gone out. So thank you to Chuan and his group for helping us get that all put together as well. So that's gone out. So the timeline goes as such that coming in, applications are due by the 24th of February. So we will be, as a board, meeting on the 5th of March to go over all those applications and start narrowing it down to identify the semifinalists. So the hope, if all goes according to plan, and we have every confidence that it will, is that by January, March 19th, I'm trying to wish that the year isn't going as fast as it's going. By March 19th, we would actually have semifinalists and actually be doing community input on that time frame. So we are moving along. So I encourage you to watch the website for different updates, and as a board, we'll continue to update as things go. But we do take this process very seriously as we're trying to make sure that we have the next great leader for our district. And for myself, as far as an overall board report, I'm just happy to be back in the state. And so I'm looking forward to being in town for the next couple of months, knock on wood. And so I don't have a whole lot to add other than I'm always wowed by what all you are doing. So I appreciate all that. And with that, we are going to adjourn early this evening. So please drive safely. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and we will see you at our next board meeting. Thank you.